Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Rock and Roll Union Streamcast. Guys, I want to do a big shout out to our sponsors before we get started. Rosenfeld Dental Associates, located at 1095 Inman Avenue in Edison, New Jersey. Rock out your smile with the Rock Doc. David Rosenfeld, nominated one of the top dentists in 2021. Make sure you tell them the CT sent you, and they'll make sure to hook you up with great discounts and awesome skill and give you a big smile in the process. Guys, it is just one more thing I want to announce, guys. Make sure that you like our YouTube channel that you're watching this on, and give us some love that way. It is my pleasure, man. It has been, I was just talking to our guest, Gregg Fox from Renaissance Rock Orchestra right before we came on the air, and it's astounding to me, and I don't know how it happens, guys. But a year ago today, he was on our podcast when we were on the radio thing, and crazy, man. It's been a year. How are you, Gregg?
I'm good. How you doing, CT?
Good, man. Real good. How's
Fantastic.
everything going with Renaissance Rock Orchestra, man? I know you guys just released a new album. I gave it a listen over the weekend, man, and I got to say, it's got some really, really good stuff. Some of the stuff we've heard before, that you guys released as singles, but some of the stuff was never released before, as far as I know.
That's true.
It was just great stuff to hear.
Yeah. You know, I actually released that record, well, I think shortly after we had our podcast together and our interview together a year ago. And that's so crazy. That's literally a year ago today. That is so cool. I love that. That's amazing. You know, at the time, I don't think I had really quite released the record yet. And so I think it was several months after that we actually released A Song of Hope. And over the course of the last year, what I've been doing with that record is releasing one song at a time to all the streaming platforms, to Spotify, to try to, you know, kind of keep interest going in the project and not to give it all away too fast. And, you know, with Spotify and all the streaming platforms, to release things on a regular basis helps the algorithm. So it helps build things up so you get out in people's faces and they see you a little bit more. So that was my plan with that. But finally, literally as of last week, we've released the entire album onto Spotify and to all the digital platforms. So you should be able to find it absolutely everywhere. And there was one last song that hadn't gotten released as a single off that record. So the Universal Dances is now available for everybody, streaming everywhere. A very, very cool song that is one of my favorites. It's you know, being a keyboard player and a real prog rock fan, I've always been a huge Yes fan, you know, and this song is probably maybe our closest step towards Yes. Definitely off the record, A Song of Hope. It is the closest thing to a Yes song. Off our last record, the one that had 27 rock stars on it, I had one song called Secrets in the Sand that Alan White, the drummer from Yes, actually played on, and Robin McCauley did the vocals, and he really did a great job of kind of copying a little bit of John Anderson, the singer from Yes, a little bit of his style, and it was up there in range like John Anderson's. So it was it felt a little awkward for Robin to. It sounded just incredible. So that's probably our closest song to a Yes track. But of course, we do all of our music is a little bit all over the map. We have songs that sound like Queen, that sound like Led Zeppelin. You know, the last album was quite a bit more commercial than our second album. Of old, but there's a lot of very pieces. But Style Like Kansas, the title track of Song of Hope, is very much a Kansas sounding song. And the first track we released, the single, is called In My Loving Arms. On that song, we had Michael James Romeo from Symphony X play this just unbelievable guitar intro and a guitar solo that is out of this world. It'll literally blow your mind for those that haven't heard it yet. And of course, that's available everywhere on Spotify and YouTube and everywhere. But I haven't really decided how to categorize that song, and because some people say it sounds a little bit, well, it sounds like 80s rock, but kind of a powerful symphonic rendition of maybe a Van Halen with a little bit of Dream Theater thrown in there or something like that. So yeah, but it's nice to have the new record, A Song of Hope, completely out on Spotify now. So please go to our YouTube channel, of course, and subscribe, and you'll hear new songs and new material that I release constantly. Right now, of course, I'm working on the new record CD. So the plan was to originally get the record out this year by June, the end of June, possibly. But as we were talking before the show here, I kind of have a lot of things going on, too many things on my plate. So I'm not sure I'm going to get the regular Renaissance Rock Orchestra record out there by the end of June at this point, because we have decided that this year we're going to put together a Christmas show and actually go out and play Christmas shows around the west side of the United States, Las Vegas, California. And so I'm also recording and writing a Christmas album that will not only have some Renaissance Rock Orchestra, Trans-Siberian styled Christmas music, but it will also have some really cool rock songs and Christmas songs that we all know and love that I've kind of changed to a Renaissance Rock Orchestra style, turned it kind of into that symphonic metal thing. So that's going to be a lot of fun. So yeah, I'm up till 4 a.m., 5 a.m. in the morning every night working on that right now, trying to get that done. The plan is, of course, to try to get that done by April so we can go out and go into a soundstage and shoot video content for the show. To have content available to start pitching to venues in June. So that's the plan. We'll see if I can get it. It's a lot of work. Yeah.
You know, you brought up a couple of things that I wanted to touch on. One being the Universal Dance. I was going to actually mention that myself. That I thought that was a really, really cool tune. Do you handle all the writing to the material, or do you have other writers come in and assist you?
No, I write it all myself. And as a matter of fact, that's kind of an interesting story because after my Seattle experience, and I ended up sailing my sailboat, as you probably know, around the Bahamas for 7 years, and I kind of thought rock and roll was dead back in the 90s and late 90s, and so I bought a sailboat and got out of the. Kind of thought I was out of the music industry and went sailing for several years, and it was an amazing experience. It was a bucket list thing that I will never be sorry that I did. But, the 7 years that I spent doing that, it's hard to say where I would be now if I hadn't spent that time doing that, because after I was done doing that, I was living in Key West, Florida, and working in an art gallery there for a while. And I ended up moving to Venice Beach, California, and living in this beautiful mansion right on the Grand Canal in Venice Beach, and writing a lot of music that would end up being the Renaissance Rock Orchestra. And my best friend, Mikey Bones, bass player, my original bass player for Renaissance Rock Orchestra and partner in Renaissance Rock Orchestra, Michael Gerbino. Mikey Bones, he was originally in Phoenix, Arizona, where I lived before my sailing trip. And we had a great cover band together called Superhero in Phoenix. And it was an amazing experience playing with the guys. They were all brilliant. Every night on stage, I would hear Norm Savadra sing and just go, oh my God, I'm so blessed. Of course, I had already performed with some of the best musicians in the world, people from Heart, and it just goes on and on and on. But so that was quite an experience. But I left that and ended up in Venice Beach, California, and decided it was time to get back into the music business. And I wasn't in Venice Beach, California, probably 60 days, 90 days in Foreigner. Something that did not end up coming to fruition. They ended up hiring a guy that was a friend of their ex-keyboard player, and he ended up walking right into the gig. And it's kind of a funny story because I saw them play down in Laughlin shortly after that, and him and I were together at the bar after the show, and we were talking, and I was telling him about how I had put so much work into programming all these songs and learning all these songs, and how the band was telling me that they loved it better than the sounds on the record. They were so good, and I had literally spent weeks and weeks and weeks preparing all that stuff for Foreigner. And and then he walked into the gig, And he felt very bad about it. He was going, "Oh my God, you're a real rock star. I know all the things that you've done. You should have this gig. I feel so bad, Gregg." And it was just a very, very funny thing. But he's been doing it now for many years. I mean, that's been close to a decade now at this point. So, well, yeah, it's been a very long gig for him. He has, I got to the NAMM show, and I do a lot of shows out there every year. And one of the shows I do is called Bonzo Bash. And Bonzo Bash is an amazing experience because it's all about John Bonham. So it's all Led Zeppelin material. And of course, I have another act that I perform a lot here in Las Vegas called the Moby Dicks. And it's a Led Zeppelin all-star tribute to Zeppelin. And the drummer in that band is Brian Tichy, who is such an amazing drummer, monster drummer, and he does John Bonham probably better than anyone, and has studied Bonham's stylings and equipments, and he just has the passion and power that John Bonham had. And so, yeah, as a matter of fact, we're going to be doing a show at Vamped here in Las Vegas, April 29th and 30th, Friday and Saturday night. So that'll be fun to get back on stage with those boys and rock out to some amazing Zeppelin with Brian on the drums. But years ago, he put together a thing called Bonzo Bash that we not only do out at NAMM every year, but we do out here in Las Vegas fairly often too. And the great thing about Bonzo Bash is it's a celebration of John Bonham. So we bring in all the best drummers in the world. Ray Luzier from Korn, literally everybody. So I've had a chance to play with dozens and dozens of the finest drummers in the world at Bonzo Bash. And that's always a fun thing. And I'm not sure how I got on that story, CT. Tell me how I started. How did I start?
Man, I'll tell you. It's
I know what it was about. I remember. It was about the Universal Dance. I was telling you the story about how I lived out in Venice Beach, California. And so I started writing music for the Renaissance Rock Orchestra. And I would, Mikey Bones my bass player had moved from Phoenix out to Las Vegas. And he kept saying, "Gregg, you got to come to Vegas. Everybody's moving from LA out to Las Vegas. A lot of the great rock musicians from 80s bands are out here now. There's a lot of things we can put together and do. We need to start our own show." So I ended up flying him out to Venice Beach, and we started working on a lot of material for the Renaissance Rock Orchestra and for a show that we did put together for a short period of time when I first moved to Las Vegas. But so the Universal Dance actually started out there in Venice Beach, California, when I started writing all this material that would end up being for the Renaissance Rock Orchestra. And I remember Mikey Bones coming out and laying the tracks for it. And I was just so excited about the track. And it took a long time before I brought it kind of out of the archives to put on my COVID release, A Song of Hope, that we released last year. But the Universal Dance was never released as a single off that record. So you can only hear it now on streaming platforms now that we released it last week.
Man, I got to say, what really floors me, and I feel like almost like it's a tease, is the end. It sounds like there's such a great jam going on there at the end.
Right.
And it kind of fades away. And I'm like, no, I want more of that.
I know. Isn't that awesome? I'm so glad that you caught that you dig that. Yeah. On A Song of Hope, I decided that I was going to kind of change the concept of what the band for Renaissance Rock Orchestra is. On the second record, In Times of Old, I had 27 different rock stars, 9 different drummers, 4 different vocalists, and guitar players like George Lynch and Bumblefoot and Joel Hoekstra. And it's just some amazing, amazing players. But for A Song of Hope, I decided that I wanted to kind of create a core band of what our sound is and who Renaissance Rock Orchestra is. So, of course, I used Brian Tichy on drums. So I play with the Moby Dicks and Bonzo Bash, and who has been on every single Renaissance Rock Orchestra so far. So I had him on drums. And I decided to bring in Mark Bowles, who had done some tracks with us on In Times of Old. But I love his voice so much, and he's a Las Vegas guy. So and him and I had done work together in Radio the Rock Vault. And so it just seemed like a the perfect choice for a vocalist. And Robin had become a lot more busy with some of his other projects, including Black Swan and his solo record that just got released on Frontiers last year. So he was a little bit busy, and Mark seemed like the perfect guy. And I love Mark so much as a person and as a vocalist. He's just unbelievable. So yeah, I changed that concept. But on Universal Dance, so on guitar players, I used Michael James Romeo from Symphony X on several songs. But then he got a little too involved working on a lot of film projects and TV projects and commercials during COVID. You know, he was scrambling, trying to survive because Symphony X wasn't touring, which he was used to happen every year. So I ended up bringing in two guitar players that I've worked with a lot. Christian Brady from Hell Yeah, who lives here in Las Vegas, was another perfect choice since he's here in town. I love the way Christian plays. But I also brought in Tony Alleman from Juan Crucier's Ret. Tony handles a lot of the Renaissance Rock Orchestra, classical metal stuff, the speed and the scale work. Whereas Christian, he's a huge Pink Floyd fan. And so what you heard at the end of the Universal Dance there was Christian just kind of going off jamming, doing his thing. And I love the way it just ends. And yeah, that would be a cool thing to revisit on another record and turn it into a whole nother song. Because Christian does a great David Gilmour, and his kind of blues rock feeling and his tone is so perfect. And I love what he did at the end. So I'm glad that you like that. You caught that. That's very cool.
Now that's something I could honestly see perhaps the band just stretching it out for a little bit live.
I would love
guys,
that.
Like, are you excited to get that show going? And what would that show, like the Renaissance Rock Orchestra, what would a show look like? Like how long of a show would you guys put together? And like,
yes. Yeah. Well, there's a couple things to keep in mind. First of all, remember that last year, July 29th, we actually did our first public show in Las Vegas on Fremont Street at a club called Notoriety Live. So I brought in that core group, Christian Brady, Tony Alleman. We didn't have Michael James Romeo from Symphony X because he's all the way on the other side of the country. And once again, he was a little bit busy with a lot of film work. But we used Mark Bowles as our vocalist, Brian Tishy on bass. On the record, I brought in an unbelievable bass player and a good friend of mine and a good friend of our original bass player, Mikey Bones. His name's Greg Smith. And Greg's played with Ted Nugent. He still plays with Ted Nugent. He used to play with Alice Cooper. He's played with Alan Parsons, Rainbow, Dokken, Billy Joel. It goes on. And so I was very excited to bring Greg in. And Greg actually played a bass that used to belong to Mikey on the record. So it's very special to have Greg become a part of Renaissance Rock Orchestra for the first time because of our association and our friendship for years with Mikey Bones. But for the live show, we brought in Tony Franklin from The Firm, who actually played with Paul Rogers, of all things, and Chris Slade from AC/DC on drums in The Firm. And of course, Paul Rogers and Jimmy Page. Come on. And of course, they had some huge top 10 hits back in the 80s with The Firm, a song called Radioactive.
Absolutely.
And, he's just a super, super sweet man. And I love everything about Tony. His vibe is very good. He's a very Zen kind of a guy and very, very at peace and calm. And so he handled the stress of the situation and learning the material quickly and doing the show under some difficult circumstances very, very well. So thank you, Tony Franklin, for coming in and doing that. I look forward to having Tony do some more live shows with us. But so for that show, what we did, my original plan with the Renaissance Rock Orchestra and my business model for the last several years has been to get a residency in Las Vegas at one of the casinos. And so I've worked towards getting a residency. And of course, with a residency, I was following some other business models that have worked here in Las Vegas. And for an unknown, unbranded band, yes, we have several albums out, a lot of originals, but you have to put together something that people from around the world are going to want to come see. So I designed a show for the residency that was a combination of Renaissance Rock Orchestra material, which is very Trans-Siberian Orchestra-like, but also epic rock hits, where we would take the biggest rock hits of rock and roll, like Stairway to Heaven by Led Zeppelin, and Kashmir by Led Zeppelin, and Dream On by Aerosmith, Won't Get Fooled Again by The Who. A lot of these gigantic epic rock anthems that are the biggest rock hits, and that we would do a symphonic rendition of those for the show. So that was the original business model that I was planning for with the residency. So we have that, and that's what we performed at that first live show, July 29th. So we started off with one of our songs. I think we ended up going into Highway Star by Deep Purple, which was unbelievable. And I put together this really brilliant multimedia presentation that was up on this 40-foot screen behind us, 25 feet tall, 40 feet wide. And all the video was designed for whatever the song was. So for on Highway Star, we had race cars, things like that happening. For Pink Floyd, we had kind of like this cool LSD acid trip kind of thing going on, right? For Kashmir, we had lots of pyramids and Egyptian things. And so it was very, very cool presentation, and people really loved that. As a matter of fact, I've been releasing some of those live videos on Facebook and YouTube over the course of the last few weeks for the first time since that show. So they're kind of fresh out there for people to take a look at, including our originals. But so we have that business model, and that's what we did for that first live show. And, we're still presenting that to different venues around the country and different casinos here. But it's a weird environment with what's going on in Las Vegas right now. And our show with these rock stars that we have is an expensive show. I have to pay those guys big bucks to bring them in. They're very busy guys. And the EPK that I put together for all the casinos out here in Las Vegas looks like $1 million. But because of that, they're looking at it and they realize that the show is too expensive for an unbranded show for them to pay what they think. We haven't really even talked about it or negotiated it yet at this point. But right now, what the business model is for most of these casinos is they have thousands and thousands of bands that are fairly well-known bands from all around the country and great acts. And they're in kind of this amount of money, not a huge amount of money. It's not horrible, but it's not what we need. We're kind of up in this territory, and what they want to do right now is this. So it's very easy for them to follow their business model and make it free shows. What I would propose to them, if they were watching right now, is that they should bring our act in. We should make it a ticketed show, for $20, where you have real rock stars and just an amazing presentation. And I have deals in place with radio stations locally, KKLZ, for instance, where they want to partnership up with us and give us this great deal on radio to have a class act like ours with real rock stars be involved with the radio station. And of course, that would mean that like 500,000 people a day would be hearing about the show for 2 weeks. So we know we would fill the show, even though it's an unbranded show, and we would be able to pay the fees that I need to pay my talent. So now that being said, because we have so many originals, obviously we have a show that is available for festivals, fairs, concerts with all of our originals. And I cannot wait to get to that point that we can do a show like that. Because the music is just going to be so enjoyable. And, a lot of our fans and followers, that's really what they want to hear. They don't want to come out and see Renaissance Rock Orchestra play some Led Zeppelin and some Aerosmith. They want to hear Renaissance Rock Orchestra, right? Right. So, a lot of our followers, but we need to build up our social media to the point that, it's a lot higher than it is. Right now we're in the 20,000 range. We need to get it closer to over 100,000 before venues are going to understand that actually even larger than that we have a big enough market and we're branded well enough that fans from all over the country from their particular city would come out and see us. So my new business model, this is like a light bulb aha moment. This is important news. Everybody make note. My new plan is that Renaissance Rock Orchestra is going to start producing its own shows When I say that, what I mean is that we are going to produce major shows, not only here in Las Vegas, but California and around the country, with major headliners. Those major headliners will depend on the size of the venue that we end up booking. And I have performance designed with 3 different scenarios for rooms and theaters and performing arts centers that are like 2,000 seaters, and headliners that would fit that size, that have that kind of those kind of pole star numbers right now. I have that designed for 5,000 seat rooms, like the Joint here in Las Vegas, which is now the theater with Virgin, since it's not the Hard Rock anymore. But I have that also designed for larger, like 10,000 seat venues. For instance, the Downtown Event Center here in downtown Las Vegas in the Fremont area. And with a place that big, I would propose something like a Blink 182 to fill seats, and people will come from all over the country and all around the world to see that. And we will open up for them. We're going to produce the shows ourselves, be in charge of it. And this is a great way to brand the band, for people to be able to come out and see the show, for a lot of new people to find out about Renaissance Rock Orchestra, and also for us to be able to make a little bit of ching while we continue a lot of our other plans while I'm writing and recording these new records. What do you think?
I think that's a great idea, man. Honestly, there's so many bands that I could name off the top of my head
Right.
that I've seen as opening bands.
Yes.
That I became such big fan of ever since. Like, no lie, I'm a big Ghost fan. I love the band Ghost.
Yes,
I seen them as an opener and thought they were phenomenal. I followed them, and now they're doing their own shows.
Yeah. Bubba wanted to say hello. Bubba says hi, everybody. Bubba, look over the TV. Can you do that? He says, "Don't tell me."
So bands like Ghost, bands like Jackal, I've seen open up for other bands.
Sure. Right. And then there's so yeah, it's a great business model. It's been being used for years, but it's a little bit different world out there now. Those tours and those shows back in the day, of course, would have been supported by the record label,
right?
Which doesn't exist anymore in this world. So I kind of have to produce the shows ourselves to find a way to make it work. But I have plenty of investors that really believe in this project, so that we can bring them in and cover the nut to bring these big headliners in and to do buyouts on venues. We're willing to do 2-wall scenarios where we do a partnership with venues. Also, that's a possibility. And I have a meeting tomorrow with Brian Ferry from the Ferry Music Group. We're going to be discussing that. He says that he has a list of about 1,800 venues around the country that the buyouts are priced very well. Here in Las Vegas, the buyouts are pretty pricey. And, it's a kind of an interesting scenario, too, because the bands that come here know that they can make top dollar here. So they actually charge more to come play in Vegas than they do in some smaller towns out Midwest or wherever it might be, right? So, yeah. So we can afford to do those shows out in places around the country easier than we can here. But I do have some pretty deep-pocketed investors, and I'm looking forward to I actually haven't put this business model in their hands yet. That's going to be going into their hands this week, so they can look over all the numbers and see if it makes sense and become partners with Renaissance Rock Orchestra. I should announce also, so I'm very excited that we have a new partner. For years, I've had several partners in Renaissance Rock Orchestra LLC from LA that are in the music business. Stephen Rosen, who used to run the Paradise Theater there for 20 years, I think it was. Mike Rosen, who is an agent for a lot of film and TV composers. And so they've been supporting the project and have believed in this music in me for many years now. And of course, I have an agent here in town, Brian Towers from BT Entertainment. Brian used to be Ronnie Montrose's manager, used to be Rick Springfield's manager, used to manage Eddie Money. So he's very, very good. I mean, these guys are all top notch. But we just brought in a new guy that I'm very excited about. His name is Brian Parisi. Brian used to be the CFO of Live Nation. And also the SVP, I think it was, maybe it's the other way around, the CFO of Warner Brothers and the SVP of Live Nation. So he's got a lot of gravitas, and he brings a lot of credibility and clout to our project and our team. So welcome, Brian Parisi. Thank you for joining us. Brian is now associated with a new venue out in California in the Norco Riverside area. And they just did their first post-COVID show there this weekend, Saturday, with Tim McGraw. So they're going to do some big shows there. So I have no doubt that Renaissance Rock Orchestra will be doing some shows there at his venue. I think it's called the Silver Lakes Equestrian Center and Sports Complex. They literally have several soccer fields, a restaurant, bar. So it's a really cool place.
Nice.
And, it's kind of in a nice area too, away from all the other competition you would have with venues in LA,
right.
And of course it's fairly close to Las Vegas too. So we could do some things there. I'm hoping that we're going to end up doing this Christmas show there, probably for maybe 7 weeks in a row out there when the Christmas season starts. I know that they're going to be building a Christmas village, so hopefully it'll become a destination place for a lot of people that want to go out and have a lot of fun Christmas events and come see Renaissance Rock Orchestra Christmas show there. So yeah, excited to have Brian Parisi aboard, and this new business model I'm very excited about. So yeah, I'm tired of waiting. I sure want to get out and get it live and do the original show. Now, even if we were to do a show in front of, let's say Blink 182 in front of 10,000 people, I think that there's still a very good chance that we would probably do some known epic hits, just because the crowd would enjoy it so much, kind of like the Dead Daisies model. Right. Where they do these festivals all around the world, and they do a lot of their own originals, but they do, quite a few known standard rock tunes that they do their versions of. So, yeah, so I think we might still do a scenario like that because I think the crowd would really love it. Yeah, these renditions we have of these Floyd songs and Aerosmith songs and Led Zeppelin songs are pretty outstanding. So they're certainly fun to play. But yes, I cannot wait to do a concert of just Renaissance Rock Orchestra material.
Man, I'd be remiss. One of your big supporters is saying hello, Christina Avila.
Hi, Christina. Christina is actually our East Coast promoter. She is a part of Team RRO, and she has worked diligently, very, very hard for the last year with a passion and an excitement that I can't find anywhere else. She just has such discipline and such a great business sense of getting the job done to do anything to make Renaissance Rock Orchestra work. And I think she's originally the one that put us together, CT, a year ago.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I got to say, she does a phenomenal job.
We love Christina. She is incredibly awesome. As a matter of fact, Christina, just yesterday, she's so sweet. She knows I've been kind of depressed about a lot of things going on. And as hard as I work trying to, doing all these business meetings all day long and then writing, recording all night long. And after we did that show July 29th last year, I had a lot of people make me a lot of promises about what was going to happen. And none of that came to fruition. And there's a lot of reasons for that. Some of it was because a lot of the casinos here in town were still not really prepared to open and do shows for COVID. They're now all open. But of course, now they're in a situation where they can buy so many bands for so cheap that they're scared to go out on a limb and try something that's, a little bit, I don't know what the word is, a bigger production with bigger names, bigger rock stars, and known talent. They're scared to do that. But she knows that I've been kind of depressed and frustrated and struggling. And just yesterday, she's always doing nice things for me to try to keep my spirits up. And she just went to the Kansas show here this weekend. So in the mail yesterday, look what she sent me. She is so sweet. She sent me the Kansas album, Live and Beyond.
Wow.
Yeah, I haven't even had a chance to hear it yet. I can't wait to hear it because another one of my fans, Susie Q, rock chick, Susan Geraltz, who is also a great, great supporter and a great friend. And we message a lot, almost every day on Instagram and also on Messenger on Facebook. And she's always there to give me advice and to kind of perk me up when I'm struggling and a little frustrated, a little down about all the work that I'm doing and as I wait for things to crack open. So she's another really great supporter too. But thank you so much, Christina. That was so sweet. I can't wait to hear it. I haven't had any time to do it yet. I was in business calls till close to 9 o'clock last night. Then I started writing and recording. I was I went till 4 a.m. You got to sleep sometime.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some people call me the hardworking man in showbiz, but Christine is she's right up there on that list too. She could be the hardest working promoter in showbiz. I wouldn't have any doubt about that.
And how do you, I mean, with all the hours that you put in, Gregg, with everything that's going on, how do you balance family life, work life?
Well, honestly, I don't. I don't. I don't. And I know it seems kind of, I don't know what it seems. It seems what's the word I'm looking for here? Sad. It seems sad, but honestly, at this point in my life, I have no life. My family's from the Northwest, and so I don't get to see them as much as I would like to. So yeah, and I'm down here. I've since I've been in Las Vegas, I've had so many amazing experiences, and I've always been very busy working in the music business. And I certainly have tons and tons of friends here, but they're all going out to concerts night after night after night, and I just don't have time to do all that. It takes a long time to write and record material, and I spend so much time every day on the phone handling the business. And my girlfriend and I broke up a year ago last Christmas. And before that, I had a family life I had to balance, where, and we would spend a lot of time, with her Shih Tzus and spending time together, going out to dinners and riding the Harley and going on trips and going to Europe, a lot of things like that. But right now I have no life. So as sad as it is, maybe that's a good thing, because I get to throw myself so completely into Renaissance Rock Orchestra to try to make this work. I don't know if that's good or bad, because obviously my career won't love me back. And I do need a little bit more balance in my life. I try to take a little bit of time for myself, at least every other weekend, to maybe get out and do a Harley ride, and maybe go out to Vamped and see one of their shows. I do have a lot of friends that come to town, and I don't get to see all of them all the time, because, if I went out with all the friends to Las Vegas, every time they're here, I would never have time for anything else. When you live in Las Vegas, you kind of have to, it's a juggling act. You kind of have to make a decision. All right, I simply can't go out. I have to stay home. I have work that I have to do, because you could be going out every single night. There's always somebody from somewhere that says, yeah, let's go out with Gregg Fox. We're in Vegas. What's Gregg up to? He likes to party. But yeah, I have some friends here in town this week. I'm hoping to see Kim from Seattle, who now live in Denver, I think it is. So I hope I have a chance to see them later on in the week. But yeah, I don't have that much of a life, honestly, CT. It is sad.
We got a band called the Legion of Prague, says the life of a working musician.
Yeah, right. Yeah, most people don't have any idea. My girlfriend, who I was with for the last 4 years, well, a year ago last Christmas, had never been with an artist or a musician before, and she didn't have any idea of the passion and the commitment that you have to do. But other than the artistic, creative artist side of having a relationship with a musician, the fact of the matter is that it's like when you start a new business. Any new business, you need to devote full time to that business to make it be a success for many years. And so, of course, that's where I'm at with Renaissance Rock Orchestra right now. I put too much work and time into it, and of course, it's my love and my passion. So, I certainly can't give up on that. We're too close at this point. We have too many big things happening. So, yeah, hopefully that it will all come together. I'll get the investment money I need for us to start going out and producing some shows. Or, other than that, my only other choice with the project is to simply, my motto, CT, has always been go big or go home.
That's it.
That's why I brought in rock stars. That's why I originally started with a Trans-Siberian Orchestra template, because I knew that during Christmas they went out and made $60 million in 90 days. And I went out to those shows and I saw the excitement of those crowds and little kids. It was the very first rock show with the lasers and the flames and the lights. And they just thought it was the most brilliant thing in the world. And I would love to be able to to do that with the next generation. Introduce them to rock music that has melody, that is about goodness and love and light, that has a good message behind it.
Absolutely.
Right.
And let me ask you, I mean, as far as when you're, this is going to be a really weird question, I know. But Greg,
well,
when you're
at least it won't be
doing,
me crying about how I don't have a life, I hope.
When you're not doing Renaissance Rock Orchestra, what do you like to do aside from that for fun? How do you take a break from it all?
Well, I do work out every day. That's an important part of, trying to stay healthy and stay in shape. But a lot of times I do that actually while I'm recording. I'll record for several hours and I'll take a break. And I have a weight set here in my apartment, but my complex has a brilliant workout room. So I love to do that. But really, my favorite thing to do is to get on the Harley and take a ride.
Nice.
So, sometimes I end up doing that by myself. Sometimes I do it with some lady friends. I have, some friends in town that ride, and just a couple weeks back on Sunday, we did something I haven't done for several years, took a ride up to Spring Mountain, which is up on the mountain. And it's a fun place, for kind of a destination place on Sundays for Harley riders to go, and saw a bunch of friends up there. So, but yeah, taking a ride on the Harley is one of my favorite things to do. We have so many awesome, fun places to go. Recently, I took a trip out to a Valley of Fire, which is about 45 minutes away from Vegas. And it's so unbelievable. They have these red rocks there that are gorgeous. On some of my trips there, I've seen mountain goats and mountain sheep, just really amazing. And this on my last trip, and I've done this before, but throughout this entire park, and I don't think it's a federal park, I think it's a state park, but it's a pretty big park. So you drive all through this place, but everywhere you go, besides these amazing rock formations with holes through them and sandstone and the red rock, there's hieroglyphics from like the Anasazi Indians, some of it 4,000 years old. I posted a couple of pictures of that on my Instagram, and I think I did on my Facebook too here a few weeks back. And to stand, and one of the craziest things, there's this little trail you can take. And the very first time I took that, I was just walking along with my girlfriend, and I just happened to look up and I saw these carvings on the wall, and I didn't even know they were there. And throughout this hike and it was only like a 3/4 or a mile hike, you just look up and they're just right there, and it's just amazing to look at them and to realize they've been there for 4,000 years. Pretty amazing,
man. Now,
so I love
when you get out and you see some of this nature. Does it play into any of your writing, any of your music?
Well, sometimes it does. The concepts behind my music, lyrically, come from lots of different places. They come from feelings I have and experiences I'm having in life. But a lot of times they come from bigger things, that I read or see in magazines, and I don't spend enough time doing all that kind of research. But those are the kind of things that usually inspire me to create concepts to go to my sometimes prog rockish tendencies.
Gotcha.
But yeah, certainly to get out and to have the wind in my hair and to see the beautiful sunsets that I have here. And I watch those from my balcony every night here in Las Vegas. So I'm very blessed to see those. And so, yeah, those give me that Zenish vibe that connects with the universe, and they feed my soul spiritually, and that recharges me. Those things certainly recharge me.
Christina's saying, hoping to come out to Las Vegas on her summer vacation this year.
Oh, cool. That'd be awesome. I hope you can. Yeah. Nice.
Man,
cool.
So as far as the next step, I know you discussed your business model. Any upcoming shows, anything on the radar that you're looking at or working on?
Well, I'm working on this new business model. In the executive summary that I put together for my several investors, I told them that in 2022, we need to do at least 2 of these shows. So sometime this year, But see, this I just got done spending several weeks building the performance and all the numbers, and putting it all together with my partners, Mike Rosen and Steve Rosen, who are not brothers out in LA. And so it's just got to the point now that we can send it to my investors. So it's now going off to several investors for them to look at. And of course, that's going to take some time. You know, you have to look at the schedules of the headliners. You have to negotiate with their agents and agencies. You have to negotiate with the venue. You have to find a time when all of this can come together to find the right date. It'd be nice to find a routing situation with some of these major headliners where they're doing other shows in LA or Phoenix, where we can get them to swing through and do a Phoenix show because we get them at a better price that way. But so all of that's going to take months and months of work. So, you know, I realistically don't think we'll be doing one of these shows for, I'd say 4 months out would be the earliest. And I don't know where it could be. Depends on the scenario. Depends on the band that's available. Depends on how much money the investor wants to put in. You know, do you want to invest enough to pay for this band that's a $50,000 act? Do you want to invest $100,000 to have a bigger known name, or do you want to go big and go 300 to 500,000 to bring in a major headliner like a Blink 182?
Gotcha.
So all those things are going to take a lot of negotiating.
Greg, my last question for you, then we're going to call it a night. How do people go about finding Renaissance Rock Orchestra as far as websites, social media, all that good stuff?
Well, the most important thing is you have to have either strong fingers or a very good vocabulary. You need to be able to spell well, because Renaissance Rock Orchestra is very long. So the very first time you do it, it's going to take you a minute, whether it's on YouTube or whether it's on TikTok or whether it's on Instagram or Facebook. You got to spell it out that first time. But of course, once you go there the first time and you press subscribe or follow, you'll be able to come back and find us easily. But we're absolutely everywhere. I post things daily not only about music, but explaining a lot of the songs that we do, behind the music, stories about like that. And things about my life today on TikTok. I showed everybody my Harley. I took a little bit of a Harley ride earlier. It was kind of a short one, mostly just errands. But yeah, my Harley's 2010 Heritage. And this artist that used to work at one of the art galleries I worked here in Las Vegas, his name is Chris DeRubis, painted my bike. And he's an amazing artist. He grinds on stainless steel and does art for homes. Normally in like panels, 4 foot by 12-inch panels. But I sold a lot of his art one year, more than anybody else in the country. So he painted my bike. It's the only one he's done. And he airbrushes it. He lights it on fire. So it has depth. It's three-dimensional. It looks like you reach your hand inside. He used gold dust on it, so it sparkles. It's like flames. It's like orange. It's very, very cool. Look on TikTok and you'll be able to see it today.
I was going to ask you if you could drop a picture on the Rock and Roll Union page.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course. You bet.
Awesome.
Let's do that. Yeah. I'll tell you what, I'll drop the entire video that I did today.
Awesome.
That'd be cool.
Great, man.
Yeah.
Well, Greg, it was great catching up, man. Thank you so much for hanging out tonight. And,
great to see you again, CT. You look good. You look good.
Thanks,
I know you've had some tough times. I'm glad to see you looking so well.
So much love and much hope for the future. And I'm sure we'll be in touch soon.
Sounds good, brother. Thank you so much for your time and for all your support, CT. Yeah.
Thanks, brother. Have a great night.
All right. You too. Bye, everybody.
So that was Gregg Fox from Renaissance Rock Orchestra. Like you said, you're going to have to do a little bit of typing, but they're worth checking out, man. Really, really good music. If you like symphonic rock, dude, it is all there. They got a bit of a Journey sound, a bit of a Yes sound. Great stuff all the way around. Once again, I got to ask you guys, please, please, please make sure you like our YouTube channel. I was kicked off of Facebook Live for a while. We were going live on Facebook. We're going to be going back to that hopefully in like, I don't know, another month or so once I'm out of jail over there. But also another big thing coming up. We announced that we will be doing a Rock for the Ukraine coming up in May. So put that on your calendar. And also next Saturday night, well, I'm sorry, next Friday night, we'll be going live at McStew's with another one of our tribute nights with Ancient Mariners. They were here last week, and a whole lot of AC/DC. Man, you guys do not want to miss that. And until next time, guys, don't just leave it better. Much love, guys. Have a great night.